They're dead. They're dead. As far as I'm concerned, they're dead. They thought that they had to kill people in order to put themselves in a little better negotiating position. When they did that, they killed 12 people. One happened to be a great American soldier, a wonderful young man from Puerto Rico, families from Puerto Rico. And you can't do that. You can't do that with me. So they're dead as far as I'm concerned. And we've hit the Taliban harder in the last 4 days than they've been hit in over 10 years. So that's the way it is.
Why would you out of that meeting with the Taliban?
Say it what?
Your administration and your advisors talked you out of that meeting with the Taliban?
No, actually, in terms of advisors, I took my own advice. I like the idea of meeting. I've met with a lot of bad people and a lot of good people during the course of the last almost 3 years. And I think meeting is a great thing. I think that meeting with, you're talking about war. There are meetings with war. Otherwise, wars would never end. You'd have them go on forever. We had a meeting scheduled. It was my idea, and it was my idea to terminate it. I didn't discuss it with anybody else. When I heard, very simply, that they killed one of our soldiers and 12 other innocent people, I said, there's no way I'm meeting on that basis. There's no way I'm meeting. They did a mistake. And by the way, they are telling people they made a big mistake. They're saying it loud and clear that they made a big mistake, John. Well, Camp David's held meetings with a lot of people that would have been perceived as being pretty tough customers and pretty bad people. There have been plenty of so-called bad people brought up to Camp David for meetings. And the alternative was the White House, and you wouldn't have been happy with that either. So Camp David would have been a good place, but I don't want to meet under circumstances where they go around and try and make themselves a little bit more important by killing a soldier, by killing actually also a great NATO soldier, in addition to our soldier, and also a total of 12 people. I don't want that. But, Camp David has had many meetings that I guess people would not have considered politically correct. Yes, Steve? Well, we're looking at that, and we're thinking about it. As I've said, we've been policemen there for a long time, and the government's going to have to take responsibility or do whatever it is they do. I've been saying from the campaign that we want to get out at the earliest possible time. We're doing a very good job. Our soldiers are incredible, but they're serving as policemen to a large extent. I just made a statement on it. Yeah, we'd like to get out, but we'll get out at the right time. What? Well, India and Pakistan are having a conflict over Kashmir, as you know. I think it's a little bit less heated right now than it was 2 weeks ago, and I'm willing to help them. I get along with both countries very well. I'm willing to help them if they want. They know that that is out there. David?
Are you willing to debate the Republicans who are running against you?
I don't even know who they are, other than I know that I guess you could say no, but I don't know them. I don't know them. I would say this. They're all at less than 1%. I guess it's a publicity stunt. We just got a little while ago, 94% popularity or approval rating within the Republican Party. So, to be honest, I'm not looking to give them any credibility. They have no credibility. One was a person that voted for Obama, ran as a vice president 4 years ago and was soundly defeated. Another one got thrown out after one term in Congress, and he lost in a landslide. And the third one, Mr. Tallahassee Trail or Appalachian Trail. He's the Appalachian Trail, right? The Tallahassee Trail is nice, too, but I think he was the Appalachian Trail. But he wasn't on the Appalachian Trail. He was in Argentina. Yeah, go ahead. Say it louder.
Are you okay with using the military as a police force on our southern border?
Well, right now, Mexico has been doing a great job for us, and frankly, we're very appreciative, but we've also been pretty rapidly changing the regulations, the rules, winning in court. We've had a lot of wins. We did it early on, but we're having a lot of wins in court right now. The courts are backing us up, and that has a lot to do with our success on the southern border. In addition, a lot of wall is being built, and every time we put up a mile of wall, that helps us a lot.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.